The crystal chandelier caught the light as Marcus Chen's polished leather shoe connected with Daniel Morrison's ribs, sending the waiter crashing into a table of champagne flutes. The entire restaurant fell silent. What the arrogant millionaire didn't know was that the humble single father picking himself up from the floor had once been called the most dangerous man in 3 continents, a former Special Forces operative who had walked away from that life to raise his daughter alone after his wife's death. And in the next 60 seconds, Marcus Chen's world would shatter in ways his money could never fix. Daniel Morrison had been working double shifts at La Côte d'Or for 8 months, his body running on coffee and determination. His 7-year-old daughter Emma needed surgery for her heart condition, and the medical bills were drowning him. Every night he'd serve entitled customers with a genuine smile, never complaining, never breaking character. The tips were good here, and he needed every penny. His hands, once trained to disarm enemies in the dark, now balanced trays of expensive wine. His mind, once strategizing military operations, now calculated which shifts would get him closest to Emma's surgery fund. He had traded violence for vulnerability, and he wore his waiter's uniform like armor against a world that had taken so much from him. If this story makes you believe in the power of dignity, in standing up for what's right, and in the strength of single parents fighting impossible battles, please hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe to our channel. Your support means everything. Marcus Chen had arrived at the restaurant with his usual entourage, Gromko laughing and demanding immediate attention. He was known in the city as a real estate mogul who treated people like disposable commodities. When Daniel accidentally brushed against Marcus while serving the adjacent table, spilling a single drop of water on the millionaire's custom suit, Marcus exploded. He stood up, face red with manufactured rage, and began berating Daniel in front of the entire dining room. He called him worthless, incompetent, a failure of a human being. Daniel apologized quietly, professionally, even as humiliation burned in his chest. But Marcus wasn't satisfied with words. He wanted to make an example, to assert his dominance. That's when his foot lashed out, catching Daniel in the ribs with enough force to knock him down. The restaurant gasped. Daniel lay there for a moment, feeling the old instincts surge through his blood. His body knew exactly how to respond. Muscle memory from 1,000 combat situations screaming at him to move, to neutralize the threat. He could have Marcus on the ground in 2 seconds, unconscious in 5. But then he thought of Emma, waiting at home with his elderly mother, drawing pictures of the 2 of them together after her surgery. He thought of the video cameras in the restaurant, the legal consequences, the custody battles that would follow. So Daniel did something harder than fighting back. He stood up slowly, brushed off his uniform, and looked Marcus directly in the eyes with a calmness that was more terrifying than any threat. The restaurant manager rushed over, but before he could speak, an elderly gentleman stood up from a corner table. Colonel James Bradford, retired, walked slowly toward the scene. He had been sitting quietly, observing, and his face had gone pale the moment he saw Daniel. Colonel Bradford had commanded the unit Daniel once served in, and he knew exactly what this quiet waiter was capable of. He also knew the story of Daniel's wife, Sarah, who had died in a car accident while Daniel was deployed overseas. How he had left the military immediately to care for their infant daughter alone, giving up medals and a legendary career to change diapers and sing lullabies. The colonel's voice cut through the tension like a blade. He addressed Marcus Chen directly, telling him that he had just assaulted a decorated war hero, a man who had saved countless lives and served his country with honor. He explained in detail about Daniel's military service, his sacrifices, and his current struggle to afford his daughter's life-saving surgery. The colonel's words weren't just information, they were an indictment. Every customer in the restaurant turned to stare at Marcus, their expressions shifting from curiosity to disgust. Someone began recording on their phone. Marcus Chen's face drained of color as the reality of his actions crashed over him. Social media would destroy him. His business partners would see him assaulting a single father, a veteran. His carefully constructed image was disintegrating in real time. But something else was happening too, something unexpected. Customers began standing up, walking over to Daniel, shaking his hand, pressing cash and business cards into his palm. The restaurant owner emerged from the kitchen, tears in his eyes, and fired Marcus from the premises permanently, then offered Daniel a promotion and a raise on the spot. If this story touched your heart, if you believe that kindness and dignity matter more than money and power, please leave a comment below telling us what this story meant to you. And don't forget to like and share. Within days, a local news station picked up the story. The video of the confrontation went viral, and a crowdfunding campaign for Emma's surgery exploded, beyond anything Daniel could have imagined. Marcus Chen, meanwhile, watched his reputation crumble as business deals fell through and his social circle abandoned him. But the real transformation came when Marcus, genuinely broken by the consequences of his cruelty, showed up at the hospital on the day of Emma's surgery with a check covering all remaining expenses and a handwritten apology. Daniel Morrison never threw a punch, never raised his voice, never used his lethal skills. Instead, he showed the world that true strength isn't about violence or dominance. It's about dignity in the face of humiliation, choosing love over vengeance, and standing firm in your values even when you're knocked down. Emma got her surgery, her father's tears of relief captured by news cameras that now told a different story, one about redemption, compassion, and the unbreakable spirit of a father's love. And somewhere in that hospital room, surrounded by flowers from strangers who believed in second chances, Daniel Morrison proved that the most powerful weapon isn't a fist or a kick. It's the courage to remain human when the world tries to make you cruel.